February the 23rd, and we're putting a cap on Apple Month. Yay. Julie, I had no idea that February was Apple Month.
I know, it seems like it should be September or October, but February, we can still get BC apples. They have them in storage for long enough that we can get fresh fruit from almost local, fresh fruit from our next door neighbors. So yes, we're celebrating Apple Month with a super simple apple pie. I feel like apple pie is something that everyone loves, but
it
sounds
intimidating,
complicated, right? To make a pie and to crimp it and do the pastry. So we're doing a super simple puff pastry slab pie. So you don't need a pie plate. And I'm going to saute the apples first. The butter is browning, so I'm going to start with sauteing the apples.
Okay, this just keeps getting better and better.
Brown butter, it's like almost like I meant for it to be browned. So 2 apples.
What kinds of apples?
Any kind. I like, people think of Granny Smith when they do apple pie.
Yeah.
I'm not really a huge fan of Granny Smith. I like ambrosia apples, John and Gold, pink ladies.
Is that a Brayburn? No.
No, Brayburns. Love Brayburns. These are Fuji and ambrosia, which don't oxidize, so don't turn brown as quickly. And I don't bother peeling them because you eat apples with the skin, and a lot of the nutrients, a lot of the fiber is in the skin, so why add extra work? And sauteing them first will sort of caramelize them and get rid of some of the extra juice, so you don't have to worry about them being too juicy and making your pie soggy. So just sauteing them in a couple tablespoons of butter.
Nobody wants a soggy pie.
No. Well, I would eat a soggy pie, but I would prefer a non-soggy pie.
Got it.
So we're going to let those cook for a couple minutes and add some sugar and some cinnamon, and that'll just sort of cook them down. So we have puff pastry instead of making pastry from scratch, which scares people.
Yes.
Even good cooks, and pastry smells fear. So puff pastry you can buy in the freezer section. It comes either in little blocks or in these rolls that you just unroll. That's all you do.
Ta-da!
I pre-unrolled it because it's kind of warm in the studio. Ideally, keep it in the fridge. Unroll it onto your cookie sheet.
Yes.
And
so you floured your cooking sheet?
I did. Use parchment if you have parchment. I forgot my parchment, so I brought flour because I thought it might get sticky because it's so warm in here.
Yes.
And yeah, all you need to do is unroll it. Take your apples. Now I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar or white sugar or even maple syrup or honey.
Oh.
And they'll sort of help release the juices in the apples and turn into this nice sugary syrup. A little bit of cinnamon.
It's a thing of beauty, Julie.
2 sliced apples, that's all you need. Okay, so we're going to speed this up a little bit. I would normally do this, no more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
This is a little bit of a slow
And what are the
burner.
indicators? What are you looking for? For the apples to soften?
Just for them to soften. I like them to caramelize a little bit, to brown on the edges, because that just gives more flavor. Anything that's caramelized is more delicious than its regular counterpart. So, but you can see that the juices are releasing into the sugar and making sort of a sticky syrup. So if you want to keep cooking them down, but most apple pies you use just raw apples. So you could do just raw apples. You don't have to saute them first. Okay. You take your apples.
So far, so simple.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so now you want to just put them down one side of your rolled out puff pastry sheet. And if it doesn't come pre-rolled, just roll it into a square.
Okay.
The great thing about puff pastry is it's super forgiving. It looks wonderful no matter how badly you think you mess it up.
Right.
It will look great. So take your apples, leave about an inch border, and I'm just going to put them down one side.
Okay.
Because I'm going to cover it like a book, like closing a book. And I'm going to show you how wonky it can be.
And I'm looking at the final product here and how you've created these edges, and it looks fancy pants.
Doesn't it look fancy pants?
It does.
The great thing too about it, here, I'm just going to pour some of this syrup over top. Actually, I'm going to put I'm putting all the apples in there.
Yeah, go for it.
Normally, as they cook, they shrink, so they reduce a little bit more. But that's okay. We can totally stretch our pastry. Yeah,
Responsibly turn the element back down.
Turn it down so you don't cause a fire. And then see how this apple is like sticking out? It doesn't matter. Because it's puff pastry, it's going to look amazing. So, stretch it with normal pastry. You don't want to stretch it. You don't want to be too handle it too aggressively. But with puff pastry, it doesn't matter much.
That's it.
So seal it closed. I'm just going to brush off the extra flour. And it's really soft because we're in a warm studio. At home, when it's cold, it's a little bit easier to work with.
Okay.
And then all you need to do
We're almost out of time, Julie.
Squish it down.
Fork, seal it
Fork.
up.
It bakes in 15 or 20 minutes.
Give it some air.
A little bit of egg wash.
And that's just
400
beaten egg.
A little beaten egg. And then the beauty part of this is once it's baked, you can cut it into wedges.
That's what you do.
Breakfast or dessert.
Easy as pie.
Right?
As apple pie. Thank you, Julie. That looks delicious. Andrew Schultz,
welcome.
there is certainly a slice for you to get your daily intake of fruit.